Welcome to a video about invasive species. But what is an invasive species? There's actually some disagreement on this. There are many different definitions. Generally, an invasive species is an organism we don't like that's introduced to an environment. And some definitions also include a selection of the following additional criteria. The species is not native to its new environment. It harms the environment. It outcompetes other organisms, and it causes problems for humans. Some call native species that invade and become pests in human-occupied areas that had previously been cleared of that species invasive as well. I don't like this definition at all. The most agreed upon definition is a species introduced to an ecosystem where it previously was not present, which changes the ecosystem for the worse. For the worse can mean a lot of things, but generally an invasive species causes harm by proliferating and changing its environment, which then affects other organisms, causing cascading disruption, which can endanger species, decrease biodiversity, and hurt industries like fishing, agriculture, and forestry, which depend upon an ecosystem's health to generate their products. Let's take a look at some invasive plants right here in Sharon. This is buckthorn, introduced in the 1800s or possibly earlier as an ornamental plant from Europe and parts of Asia. It's generally a food of last resort for birds and mammals and experiences less insect herbivory than native plants. It's also an overwintering host for the invasive crop pests oak crown rust and soybean aphid. It's an attractive nesting plant for birds due to its many horizontal branches, but it tends to provide worse nest safety than native species. Japanese knotweed is native to Asia. It was introduced as an ornamental plant, but it escapes readily from cultivation and spreads rapidly. Its seeds are dispersed by birds, insects, wind, and water, and it can also reproduce vegetatively with new plants growing from leaves, stems, roots, and rhizomes. They outcompete native plants, and they change leaf litter composition and soil microbiome. While they're extremely hard to control, Japanese knotweed are eaten by mammals and various leaf-eating insects. Its young shoots can also be cooked and eaten like asparagus, and its rhizomes can be peeled, broiled, and eaten like potatoes. There are a variety of invasive bush honeysuckles in the United States, many of which spontaneously create hybrids with each other, making it hard to identify any one given honeysuckle. They all originated from a variety of different places, but all of them share some common characteristics. They spread prolifically, choking out other shrubs, saplings, and ground-covering plants. Their leaves develop early and remain longer than those of most other plants, contributing to this choking out of plants below them by restricting light. They're also less preferred by herbivores, putting pressure on other nearby native plants as herbivores turn to them instead. Japanese barberry was introduced into North America in 1800s as a replacement for common barberry, which was found to host a disease affecting beet. Unfortunately, it thrives in eastern United States forests, especially post-agricultural forests like these. It often escapes after being planted ornamentally, with animals like deer, turkeys, and other birds distributing its seeds. It can change the chemical and microbial properties of the soil it grows in, which is thought to linger long after it's removed, hindering the recolonization of the area by native plants. Finally, and you might find this surprising, domestic cats are also an invasive species. Even well-fed cats will hunt and kill if given the chance, which means that they can damage populations of small animals. As of December 2017, on islands, they had caused the extinction of 33 bird, mammal, and reptile species, accounting for 14% of all island extinctions. Their presence near nests can stress chicks and reduce their rates of survival. In addition to this, they kill approximately 2.4 billion birds per year in the US alone. And as of July 2016, they had contributed to the extinction of 63 bird species. The solution
Cats should be free. Under California law, since we are common domesticated animals, we are thus neither wild nor exotic, and thus by definition cannot be invasive. Okay, although we might harm some birds, our impact is being exaggerated. The people behind it, they're conspiring against us. Okay, any disadvantages are outweighed by our rodent control capabilities. If there were any mice around here, I would consume them within an hour. Anyway, the narrative about cats being a harmful invasive species is manufactured by government agencies, ornithologists, and other cat haters. Humans are more invasive than cats anyway, so why should you consider us invasive if you aren't? Cats are only in the wild when humans abandon them there. So why are you blaming the cats? Also, how can we distinguish between feral and domestic cats? Their species is the same, so if you say that cats are invasive, that means that you have to exterminate all cats. Clearly, that's not an option. And if your government declares cats invasive, what's next? Will they eradicate dogs too? Then who knows, maybe humans. Cats of the world. Humans of the world. We must unite.